Hi guys, George here. You're listening to Outside Lane by Lane 8 Coffee, bringing you the stories behind the people and businesses inspiring coffee culture today. From coffee roasters to ceramicists, and from furniture designers to bakers. In this episode, I sat down with Anna Brightman, co-founder of UpCircle, a brand pioneering the byproduct beauty movement. UpCircle elevate leftover natural ingredients, including coffee grounds collected from hundreds of independent coffee shops across London, bringing them back to life as beauty products. With stockists including Boots, Sainsbury's and Urban Outfitters, we talk about their rapid growth to date and hear about Anna's day-to-day as founder of the business. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started UpCircle about 4 years ago now. We are a sustainable skincare brand who make all of our products from repurposed ingredients. So it all started out with the idea of wanting to recycle coffee waste. I don't think we necessarily knew we were going to be a skincare brand. The coffee idea certainly was what led it. Just walking to work every day. The brand is co-founded by myself and my brother. We used to have very corporate jobs. One of our observations was that every single person would have their morning coffee on their way to work. And just after inquiring with the local cafe what they did with their coffee grounds, they told us that they have to pay the council to have it disposed of at landfill. So that was our kind of initial idea. We wanted to find a product that could use that resource. And then my influence was to decide that it should be skincare. I wanted to be a makeup artist when I was a teenager, so I knew of the great skincare benefits that coffee has, and there was no other beauty or skincare brands on the market doing anything like this, which kind of makes sense. It's quite a bold move in a beauty industry, which is arguably quite shallow, to start talking about issues of waste. But nonetheless, I think it's important to stand out. So we started out making coffee scrubs from coffee grounds that we collect from cafes and restaurants. We started out with one cafe. We now collect from just over 100 small chain and independent coffee shops. Then we kind of broadened out that idea and started working with different ingredients. So next up, we launched a range of palm oil-free soaps that are naturally fragranced with repurposed chai tea spices. So it's a hand-sourced blend of 10 spices that still smell absolutely beautiful after they've been used to make chai tea syrups. So we dry them back out, grind them down and use them in our soaps. And then we started working with things like powdered fruit stones that are left over after making fruit oils, like olive oil, for example. We grind the olive stone powder down and use it in a face mask. And so that's what we do. That's what makes us different. Our products are all natural, handmade in the UK. They're vegan and cruelty-free, organic. But that's, lots of brands can claim all of those credentials. What really sets us aside is that we are fighting waste with each of our formulations too. So it's one of our main things as a brand is that we keep our formulations as simple as possible. I used to find, I want to make products that I would buy myself. And I was 23 when we started this. And I would be reading the backs of skincare products that I wanted to buy and I couldn't understand a single word of it. So, we pride ourselves on find it in your kitchen style ingredients, natural, simple, high performing. There's no rocket science behind what we're doing. The formulations are quite basic. So what we first did, we actually used the London Coffee Festival as a big way to test our product and to test our idea. They have this innovation zone where you get a little plinth and it's a lot more affordable than their main stands. So we booked one of those, literally maybe no more than, I was still working my previous job, so maybe a month into having this idea. And my brother and I, we described it as looking like a GCSE DT project. It was very rudimentary. We just sketched up these little labels. We were working in a little box room in Hackney at the time, and there was a branding agency who were just starting out as well, who were just two people like us, who just happened to be a few doors down, and they found out what we were doing and offered to help. Interestingly, we still work with them now. Worked with them since day one. But they made us these labels, and we bought a few coffee scrubs that were on the market and tried them all out, got friends to try them out, saw what we liked, what we didn't like, and then made our own very simple formulations, packed up in basic aluminium tins, about 700-800 of them, as many as we could make while still working, and assumed that would be enough to get us through the full show of London Coffee Festival, but we sold out in the first day. So that was a really good way for us to see two things: that A, people like the products and we were letting them try them then and there and smell them and get them on their skin. So they loved the products and they weren't turning their nose up at using something that had been recycled in skincare as well. So that was like a bit of a turning point for us. And I think after that weekend, my brother actually just quit his job. My working notice was a bit longer, so I still had to multitask for a while. We also got picked up by Urban Outfitters as a retailer before we even had packaging. So it was a kind of crazy fast-forwarded journey for us, which was in a way very, brilliant, but also meant that certain things were rushed and we did make mistakes, which in the end, and a longer timeline, was the reason that we chose to rebrand 2 years in. I think that was because, we'd stumbled upon issues in the first 2 years of scaling up a business and launching into different retailers, that after we'd then had that experience, we thought, okay, well, we now know this and we can make this better. So we kind of started from scratch in a sense, not with the idea, but with everything else 2 years in order to fix some of the things that we had potentially rushed by being a brand that went from idea to product within a matter of a couple of months. So I'm not necessarily saying that our way was the right way. The brand that we have now obviously has been refined and works perfectly. It's also, I guess, a reason that we grew so quickly is that we moved so fast and people heard about us and stockists wanted us in their stores. So yeah, I mean, but it's been a rocky road. We made mistakes. Urban Outfitters, for example, was, oh my goodness. Thank goodness they actually launched our rebrand afterwards. So we got our second run in there. But we didn't have a seal on the products. And by this point, we'd changed them into tubes. But of course, you can't predict what customers are going to do. So people were opening them up to smell them. And we don't use emulsifiers because they're completely natural. So coffee was just pouring out of these products all over the shop floors. So, we've had our disasters and we've learned. But yeah, it moved very quickly for us. I think it's very interesting with my brother and I because we're the complete opposite of each other. So he has a background in finance, which at many points in our journey has been, well, I would say every day is critical. I absolutely could not do the things that he does. When we went on Dragon's Den was a perfect example. We had decided that I would answer all questions that were product or skincare related, and he would answer any financial questions. So I did the majority of the pitch, which was 2 minutes, and then the next 3 hours that we were in front of them, they were just firing these hideous financial questions at him while I just stood there. So his background has been so key. I, on the other hand, have got completely different, past experience and interests. I did history of art at university. I mean, talk about choosing a degree that doesn't necessarily give you the easiest career path. Following that, I did a load of different jobs, not knowing still what I wanted to be. And then I had a kind of game-changing role, which was the one that I had before starting this business, which sort of changed it all for me, particularly with regards to, I guess, just confidence in general, really. So I was an area manager for one of the big supermarkets, meaning that I managed multiple stores, each of which had, 60, 70 staff, and I was 21 at the time. But in my final interview for that, I remembered the guy who ended up being one of my main bosses literally ripping up my application and going, "You did history of art, what the hell are you doing here?" And that was, again, like such a turning point for me, because I was like, what is this? I'm not having that. And I lost it. I just went off, and I think that's what got me the job. So I think there's no denying that that's given me a fantastic sort of groundwork for where we are now. And again, it's experience that my brother just doesn't have. People management, hiring and firing, I hate to say it, but, it's pretty key. Employment law, logistics, operations, warehousing. It made me laugh so much and still does every day. We only just hired a member of staff to take over this element of the business from me. But you get delivery drivers and guys come in, and when it's just me and my brother, they almost refuse to speak to me. Or they're like, oh, are you sure you should be using that pump truck? Don't you think he should do it? Or isn't he going to help you? I'm like, oh, please. So, having that background has been really helpful for me with the kind of division of labour within our current role. Not only that side of things, I love the operations, I love the logistics, I love being a female in that sector. It makes me, feel proud, I guess, because it's different. But also I'm naturally the creative, I'm the marketer, I'm the one who does the speeches, I do the pitches, I do sales primarily. Like, again, in the early years, if it was me and him at a show, it's always me who talks to people first. And I think that that's really important. You need both. You need the yin and yang. And I think that our differences are also something that's really helped us kind of balance each other out and get the growth that we have. It varies a lot. So I normally, at the moment, I'm doing all of the packing of orders as well, which has just been absolutely crazy. So that's ending up taking a lot of my time. We're going to outsource as of next week, which will be a big game changer. But yeah, my days vary a lot. I try to say yes to all opportunities. I either run or cycle into work. So I try and get in for about 8 o'clock. And then try my best to leave at sort of 6:30 or 7. And again, try to keep it just a Monday, Friday thing. But because I also manage our events, sometimes that'll mean working weekends, which is fine. But I'll try and give myself a little bit of a break in the week if that does happen. So we try, again, it's nice to have a brother as a co-founder because we know what's important to each other. He's got a 1-year-old baby. And we have our non-negotiables, so we can support each other with that if and when we need to keep our work-life balance in check, because I think that's just so important. But yes, what I love about being a founder is that each day is different and you do actually wear a lot of hats. We have a branding agency who we work with who do the vast majority of our design work, but I often have to do ad hoc things like designing landing pages for, I don't know, somewhere like Amazon. Or if we're working with a new online retailer, they often want you to produce assets for them. And unfortunately, those are never the same. So I do all of the ad hoc design that we can keep in-house. I manage a lot of our new product development, which is one of my favorite things to do. So sourcing new ingredients that I'm keen to work with. So next up, we're going to be looking at flower petals. We work in a railway arch, and a lot of our neighbouring archways are run by florists. And again, just through observation, I realised that they throw away all of their unsold plants once a week. So rather than them doing that, I'm working on saving those petals, drying those out and using those in a future range. So new product development is one of my favourite parts of what I do. And then it's things like podcast recording and radio interviews, all kind of as many different avenues that I can tell our story as possible. As I say, I just try to say yes. So I also do a lot of our press. I do a lot of interviews with journalists. Sometimes I do desk visits where I'll go. We have a freelance PR woman who has all of these contacts. We'll just go together and we'll visit journalists at their desks, so they're not feeling like they're not having to go out of their way. And just tell them what's new and what's coming next and getting them excited about what we're doing. And then I do the social media as well. I think social media for a beauty brand is something that's incredibly important, and people are often very surprised to hear that we haven't handed that out yet. But I just feel like it took us so long to get it right. I have no background in social media. My personal social media is completely deserted. I couldn't care less. But for our business, I put a lot of time and effort and thought into it. And I think it's something that a lot of brands get wrong. So I'm proud of the growth that I think we're on something like 33,000 followers now on Instagram, which I've built from nothing. And they're genuine, they're not bought, and it's high engagement. And it's one of the platforms from which we get most of our new customers. So I put a lot of time into refining and making that as perfect as it can be as well. So long story short, I would say I'm the storyteller, which is different every day. I just try to say yes to everything that comes my way and actively seek out opportunities when the time allows it to. So yeah, that's the kind of the long and short of it. If I was to walk into any coffee shop, it would be All Press in central London. And that's because they were the very first coffee shop that allowed us to start taking their coffee grounds. They were the coffee shop that gave us the whole idea to do what we're doing now. And we still collect from them to this day. Every time I go in, I think that the atmosphere is amazing, the staff are amazing, and I've never actually taken the time to just sit there and enjoy myself. So I would call a few friends up and I would get them all down. My coffee of choice is an oat milk latte. You'd be surprised to hear that I actually did not drink coffee. I had never drank coffee up until about 2 years ago because I actually just didn't like it, but that has all changed now, thankfully, by being immersed in it every single day of my life. So yeah, I go to All Press. It's the place where it all began for us. They've been so supportive. We've done DIY coffee scrub workshops in some of their branches, and they're just a great partner of ours. And I've never taken the time to actually go and sit in and enjoy a cup of coffee there. So that's where I would go.
Thanks very much for listening. You can find Anna and the team at UpCircle Beauty on Instagram. This has been Outside Lane. Until next time.